We are back live heading into the Monaco Grand Prix. But first, a special announcement. We have moved Sam's Bets to its own dedicated YouTube video channel. Sam, you have been on an absolute scorcher since preseason testing in the beginning of the year. You are batting 63% win rate. A man with the Formula One bets so hot, so scorching, so reliable. You needed your own channel on our YouTube page to talk to our fans, our listeners, and people who frankly should just want to win money about how to bet Formula One. Sam, no further ado, Sam's Bets. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Matt, I'm the hottest F1 gambler in the game. You just touted the stats. They don't lie. It's documented. It's there for the world to see. We're not hiding from anybody. I'm the hottest F1 gambler in the game, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. There will be no regression. The train's just going to keep on moving. We're head down and push. And yeah, we're gonna give our folks some more winners this week at Monaco.
Absolutely. I'm pumped. I can't wait. It's probably my favorite segment to record all week long. I'm pumped that we're going to get our very first YouTube version of it up there for the whole world to see.
Special edition.
And listen in right now because we are about to start Sam's Monaco picks. Off. Who do you got? What are you seeing on the board this weekend?
So first and foremost, we'll be using some FanDuel lines this weekend. And as always, a reminder to all of the gambling proprietors out there, we're open for business. If you want to sponsor us, let us know. We're open for business. We'll listen to anybody. But we're going to be using FanDuel this week because Matt and I will be live betting this from the FanDuel Sportsbook at Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York. So fun weekend for us. We're going to be live bullets. We'll be betting the board. But yeah, it's an interesting week at Monaco. We've talked about it on the pod, but it's one of those weeks where, might not be the most exciting race to watch, but I think, sharps like myself, the data's there and it's a week where we can really dive in. So I've got a small card, but a card that I'm confident of. So I'm really excited to get to it.
I'm pumped for you too. So for new listeners, new people joining in this week, we are recording this Thursday night. This is before free practice. Sam is looking at the lines. He's looking at the board. He is trying to find some good value bets before Vegas moves in and starts circling these lines after FP1, FP2. We usually have a pretty good sense for how these cars are going to fan out on track even before free practice. Sam does a lot of outside research. He's looking at all the different upgrades, the rumors that are going, who's right, who's wrong, who's to trust, who's not to trust, who's going to be pushing, who's not going to be pushing, who's spending too much money, who's not, all ahead of this weekend. So this is your chance to get live, good value picks, and something that you would definitely want to hear in right away. And then, as always, we'll announce at the end of the week, Sam does his matchup predictions post-qualifying Saturday. We may be coming live to you from Turning Stone at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Sam, kick us off. What do you see on the board this weekend?
So if you listen to the podcast this week, I love Ferrari. I think it's a Ferrari weekend. Obviously, we haven't seen any practices or anything like that, so it's a little bit on a limb. But if we look at last weekend, how fast Chuck's car was, and then the type of track that Monaco is, I just think it sets up perfectly for Ferrari, specifically Chuck, with how well he's been driving. And I just have a hunch that this is the weekend he gets the Monaco monkey off his back. And we see some Ferrari dominance. So I'm going to kick things off on this card by going a dual Ferrari bet. Charles Leclerc, our boy Chuck.
Chuck Leclerc, he said, I I felt it. He felt it. So I'm proud, to put on a show like this in this heat for the promoters.
To win the Monaco Grand Prix at -105 and Chuck Leclerc to finish on pole plus 100. Those are my two bets to start off.
Wow. So you've got right off the bat plus 110 pole sitter and -105 to win the race. That is right in line with what you had for your predictions for Monaco earlier on the podcast that went out this morning. So you're sitting there saying last weekend was a fluke. Ferrari's figuring out the reliability for this weekend. Chuck, home race, home country, where he lives, he's going to finally do it, and he's going to come out on top.
It's his time. It's his time. The monkey will be off the back. The piano will be off his back. Whatever you want to call it, he's winning this weekend, and it's his time. And I'm excited to see it. So, yeah, book those two bets. I feel really good about them.
I love that. I think so too. I think, he's got a pretty level head. People talking about the crash last year and him hitting the wall. It's in the past.
It's in the past.
It's in the past. He's a different driver this year. Not like he's the same driver, but he's got a different edge about him. He's Chuck.
Chuck Leclerc.
Matt, let's just hope he's a different driver than the one who crashed Niki Lauda's car into a turn like a month ago.
I really hope so. So, Sam, there was nothing worse than seeing it last year, him driving in the formation lap and just losing power. He was sitting on pole, and he probably would have won that race, to be honest with you, because I think Max sat on P1 and he had a better line to cover off Bottas. That would have been Chuck. So I'm with you, Sam. I like that bet. What else you got for the listeners?
So my next bet is my boy Lewis. I think, we talked about on the pod again. I think Mercedes is going to be strong this weekend, and I like Hamilton to finish on the podium plus 250. Lock it in. This guy loves Monaco. He's won there 3 times. I think Mercedes car, it sets up beautifully at this track, specifically after their upgrades last weekend. And I think Mercedes in general has a lot of momentum. I love Lewis. I think he has a woken, and I think he's going to have a great week and find himself on the podium come Sunday afternoon. So Lewis Hamilton on the podium plus 250.
Love that. And honestly, all of us on the podcast this week, we all had Hamilton on a podium. Stefano had him P2. I had him P3. You have him P2, and you have George Russell P3 in your predictions. So all of us are circling the Mercedes is going to be dominant this weekend, is probably going to have at least one on the podium. I love that.
I hope so, and I think it's going to be the case. So it'll be interesting to see. So next, let me ask you this, Matt. Here's another guy who has some serious momentum. He's been rock solid all year. He's kind of your guy. He had some comments after the last race saying he thinks he can compete even closer to the top, and that's coming from a 6th place finish. Do you know who I'm talking about?
6th place at Spain. It's either Esteban Ocon or Valtteri Bottas. Valtteri, he's my guy.
I like Valtteri to finish in the top 6 at Monaco. He's got some good success at Monaco in the past. I think he finishes top 6, -160. Book it.
-160. I like that. Last year he was looking pretty damn good. He was on P2 to start the race. He lost out to Max. Max had a beautiful move right off the line, covered him off. But then unfortunately, Valtteri just had some unfortunate luck in the pits. Couldn't get that right tire off. But he was racing a beautiful race as well. Probably should have been on the podium. And the way that Alfa Romeo is set up, it's very similar to the Ferrari of this year. It's very good in these technical circuits. I like that bet a lot, Sam. So you have Valtteri top 6 -160.
Correct. Yes.
Love it.
All right, and I'm gonna wrap up my card, going kind of back to the well here. We're big Alpine guys.
Huge.
I'd love Esteban Ocon to finish in the points this weekend, -160. This guy's been so good, so solid. We've talked about it a lot on the pod. He's undefeated against his teammate this year. He's been racing beautifully. He's very consistent, and you can rely on him. He's one of a few guys who has kind of consistently been in the points this year, 5 of 7 races. I think his steady, smart style will be a huge advantage at Monaco. And I think we see another solid week from him, and there's no reason to really not think he's going to finish in the points. So we're going to keep betting him. Ocon to finish in the points minus 160. And don't be surprised if his teammate Fernando Alonso is there in the points with him. And if you can find a double points bet for Alpine, don't be afraid of that. I'm not necessarily throwing it on my card, but I think if you're feeling a little frisky, that's something else I'd look at. But I'm going with Esteban Ocon on the points minus 160.
Love that. Sam, you had a great weekend, 8-6. You were just one Charles Leclerc away.
Chuck Leclerc.
From going 11-3. So you were all over the board.
Yeah.
This week, last week, I think you had thrown out 14 total bets between your race matchups, which again, dominant, 4-1, hottest hand in the business. Nobody's even close. The only reason you won't have that one loss, Lewis got tagged by Magnussen. He was 100% going to beat his teammate George Russell. You were all over that. That's a bad beat by bad beat on bad beat. And this week, I like this. Monaco, very tight card for you. Talk to the fans about that. Monaco's not a very good track for overtaking. It's not a very good track for a lot of action. It's kind of a boring race. Talk to the fans. Some of the people out there saying, hey, Sam, last week you gave me 14 bets. Now I got 5. Talk to the fans about that.
Look, this is an entertainment podcast video. I'll admit that, but I'm not going to, guide my followers, my listeners, my watchers in the wrong direction. I'm not going to force my bets. If they're there, I'm going to take them. If they're not, I'm not. And, the card spoke to me this week, only 5 bets. It was 8 last week, whatever. If they're there, I'll take them. If they're not, they're not. We're not forcing it this year. We're going to be smart, but we're going to win. We're going to win. So, Vegas had some weird lines this week, and I played a little conservative, a little closer to the vest, but that's not necessarily going to mean that I won't have 10 matchup bets, because I very much might. So we'll see where those lines go.
Yeah, it's almost like you've been so hot that Vegas is afraid. That was really what I was getting at.
They're scared. They're scared.
Last week, how many lines did we see? We saw fastest pit stop. We saw safety car. We saw double points. We saw all these lines heading into Spain. This week, we're not seeing a whole lot, and anything you're getting is trash value. They're scared. They're running scared.
They're scared.
They're very scared. And you know what? I hope for all of their sake that they continue to be scared in matchups, because otherwise you're going to keep eating their lunch. You're going to keep taking their money, and you're going to say, thank you. Yep, I'll have another.
I'll keep stuffing them in a locker, man. I'll keep doing it. And and we'll bankrupt them. We'll bankrupt your bookie.
Sam, any lines out there that you absolutely hate? Anything you're seeing out there that you think, guys, avoid this with a 10-foot pole? It's so bad. It's got the worst value. It's just a rat line. If you're going to go and bet this, you should just give the money directly down, flush the money down the toilet if you're going to go and bet these lines. Any of those lines out there that you tell our listeners, hey, and viewers, listeners and viewers, avoid. Get out of there. Don't even go near that. Stay away from it.
I think this is tough to say because they've had so much success, especially the last couple of races. But I think if you're going to stay away from somebody or some team this weekend, it should be Red Bull. I think they're a little overpriced everywhere right now. We talked about it on the podcast. The car strengths specifically aren't going to be able to be utilized at a track like Monaco. So I'm not high on Red Bull this weekend. I don't think Max is going to win the race. I wouldn't, if you can avoid a Checo on the podium line, I would. I don't think he's going to be on the podium. It wouldn't shock me if Max is, but it would kind of shock me if Checo ended up on the podium on Sunday. So I'd fade Red Bull this weekend if you can. And that's hard to say. And it's a risky thing to say. So don't go out there and start betting against every single Red Bull line you see. But I would just be a little cautious of Red Bull this weekend.
Yeah, I love that. I think the fact that everybody here thinks that they have such a bad car for Monaco makes me even question my own take. As a big Red Bull fan, I don't think I predicted neither of them to be in the top 3 on the podium. And that's even concerning that I'm thinking that way, which makes me think that somebody knows something that we don't know. And that's why I love that. I wouldn't touch anything on Red Bull. I wouldn't touch anything with Max Verstappen. I think they still have some reliability concerns. They might have a great package. We could be totally wrong and they could come in and absolutely blow the doors in on Ferrari. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's just so difficult to see where these guys are truly at right now that I don't like anything to do with Red Bull, to be honest with you. I like that, Sam.
Love that we're on the same page.
Love it. Love that we're on the same page. We may be coming live to everybody this weekend from the FanDuel Sportsbook at Turning Stone. Sam, give the listeners what should they expect when they think about Saturday matchup bets? When you're going into the room, you're going into that back office you've got, head down, headphones in, data crunching, number crunching, looking at everything, forecasting weather, predictions. What should these people expect coming out of you on a Saturday afternoon after qualifying?
Yeah, well, look, these winners don't just magically appear. I'm crunching numbers in the lab. We're looking at sector times from FP1. We're really diving deep into the data, and yeah, that's what you can expect is just a grouping of well researched and well-established bets that are going to win. And all I'll say is you got to trust us and trust that I'm diving into the data and we're going to come out on top.
Sam, any teasers for the listeners for Saturday Live FanDuel Sportsbook at Turning Stone?
We're going to be betting the board. That's the teaser. We're going to be throwing darts all night. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Saturday, post-qualifying, after everything is dust settled and the lines finally come out and Vegas has dipped their toe into the water of whether or not they want Sam to take their money for the week or if they want to just play conservative and give us some rat lines that nobody touches. Tune in Saturday on Twitter at in_the_points on Twitter. You'll find all of Sam's race matchup bets. Sam, give the listeners one last tagline heading into Monaco.
Vroom, vroom. Away we go.
Away we go. Let's go racing. Thanks, Sam.